My name is Barbara. I'm 40 years old, and I've always prided myself on being the type of person who works hard to build a stable life for my family. I'm an engineer and have worked my way up over the years to a comfortable position at a well-known company. My husband Anthony and I live in a cozy home with our 9-year-old daughter Ashley. Despite our steady incomes, there's always been one thing that has been a constant source of frustration for me: Anthony's overwhelming loyalty to his parents. Don't get me wrong. I understand the importance of family. I think it's wonderful that Anthony is so dedicated to his mom and dad. But sometimes it feels like he prioritizes them over me and Ashley. I try not to let it bother me, but over time, it's become harder to ignore. I've come to realize that it's not just a small issue, it's something much deeper. And what happened that day with the car would be the breaking point. It all started when Anthony came home one evening with a strange request. "Barbara, I've been thinking. I want to buy a new car," he said, sitting down beside me on the couch. I was a bit surprised. Anthony has never been particularly interested in cars. He's always been content with whatever car we had, as long as it worked. But now, out of nowhere, he wanted a new one. I asked him what kind of car he had in mind. "Something better, something that can handle all the driving I've been doing to visit my parents," he said casually. I nodded, trying to understand where this was coming from. "You want a new car for all the trips to your parents?" I asked, already sensing the familiar tension that had been building between us. Anthony didn't seem to notice. He was too excited about the idea of getting a new car. "Yeah, I think it's time for something more comfortable. I'll handle the payments, don't worry," he added quickly. The fact that he had already decided on the car without even discussing it with me should have been my first red flag, but I didn't want to cause a scene. "Okay," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "If you really think it's necessary, go ahead." In my mind, I couldn't help but feel uneasy. Anthony had never shown any real interest in big purchases before, especially not when it came to luxury items. But now, out of the blue, he was insisting on spending money on a new car. I wanted to be supportive, but something about it just didn't sit right with me. The next few days were a whirlwind. Anthony began researching cars, spending hours online, talking to dealers, and making phone calls. He seemed completely obsessed with finding the perfect car. I didn't think much of it at first, figuring it was just a phase. But then, one evening, he came to me with a look of excitement in his eyes. "I've found the one," he said, grinning from ear to ear. "We're going to get a luxury minivan." I stared at him, unable to comprehend what I was hearing. "A minivan? Are you serious?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Why would we need a minivan? We're a family of 3. But Anthony was already lost in his excitement. "It's perfect, Barbara. Just imagine all the space. And it's sleek. It'll look amazing," he said, his voice filled with enthusiasm. "It's perfect for the future. What if we have more kids?" I felt a knot form in my stomach. "But we don't need a car this big. A minivan is for a family of 5 or more," I protested, trying to reason with him. But Anthony wasn't listening. "It's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it," he said, brushing off my concerns. I felt the tension rising, but I stayed quiet, unsure of how to handle this situation. The dealership visit was a blur. Anthony was so excited, talking to the salespeople, pointing out features, and making decisions without consulting me. I felt like I was just along for the ride. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, we signed the paperwork. Anthony was thrilled. I, on the other hand, felt like something was slipping through my fingers, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. When the car arrived a few weeks later, I had a sinking feeling in my stomach. As we stood in the driveway, Anthony beamed with pride, admiring the luxury minivan as if it were the greatest thing he'd ever purchased. I tried to muster a smile, but it didn't reach my eyes. It was a car I didn't want, paid for with money that could have been used for so many other things. But Anthony didn't seem to care. To him, it was the perfect choice. As the days passed, the car became a symbol of everything that was wrong with our marriage. Every time Anthony drove it, He seemed to forget the practical reasons we should have been more careful with our money. It wasn't just about the car. It was about the way he had made decisions without consulting me, as though I was no longer a partner in this relationship. The more I thought about it, the more I realized this wasn't about a car at all. It was about the deeper issues that had been building for years. There were so many moments like this, small betrayals that built up over time. The time when Anthony missed the birth of our daughter, Ashley, to go help his mother with a burn that wasn't even serious. Or the countless birthdays where he chose to spend time with his parents rather than with our daughter. The time when his mom made cruel comments about me in front of family members, and Anthony did nothing to stop it. Each incident chipped away at my trust in him, but I kept telling myself that things would get better. He would come around. He would see how much I was sacrificing for our family. But the truth was, he never did. The car situation was just the tipping point. That day, when he told me he was going to give the car to his parents, something inside me broke. He didn't even ask me first. He just assumed that it was his to give away. "What are you saying?" I asked, my voice trembling. "You're giving the car to your parents?" Anthony nodded, a strange look in his eyes. "Yeah, they need it more than we do. Besides, I want them to be happy," he said. I couldn't believe it. I had paid for this car, and now he was giving it away to his parents, as though it was his to do with as he pleased. I had always felt like a secondary priority in his life, but this took it to a whole new level. "If you don't agree with me, I'll divorce you," he said suddenly, as though it were the most normal thing in the world. His words hit me like a punch to the gut. Divorce? Over a car? It was too much. I couldn't stay in a marriage where I was treated like I didn't matter. I had tried to be understanding, but this was the final straw. "Fine," I said, my voice cold and detached. "If that's how you feel, then I'll do it. I'll divorce you." My heart was pounding as I said the words, but I knew they were the right ones. I couldn't live like this anymore. That night, I sat in the living room, staring at the empty space where the car used to be. I couldn't stop thinking about everything that had led up to this moment. The car was just a symbol of everything that was wrong in our marriage, and now it was gone. But what hurt the most was that Anthony didn't even seem to care. He was happy to give away the car without a second thought, as though it were just another possession to be discarded. As I sat there in the silence, I realized that I had been living in a fantasy for far too long. I had convinced myself that things would get better, that Anthony would eventually come to his senses and realize how much I had given up for our family. But now I saw the truth. I had been sacrificing everything for a man who didn't even see me as his equal. The love I once had for him was fading, replaced by a deep sense of betrayal. And in that moment, I knew it was time to let go. I stood up, walked to the door, and stepped outside into the cool night air. For the first time in years, I felt free. Free from the weight of the expectations, the disappointments, and the constant sense that I was never enough. The car, the house, the promises, they were all just distractions from the truth. And now, finally, I was ready